The power in surrender. That's one of the main topics from this week's World Affairs Truth Report number 10. That I'll be reading verbatim from my written report that I've written through automatic writing, and it's message and guidance from the Divine Council that I've been working with for a number of years now. And these reports have come, if you're just tuning in for the first time, these reports have come from a book that I channeled, The Coming Times, which I wrote through automatic writing. And these reports have like a continuation of the Coming Times book. And so I'll be reading the report verbatim. I'll just be reading it out. And then my lovely partner Ged will come and join me, and he will unpack the report and bring his wisdom and his own knowledge from his private practice, and his own from his own awakening. He'll bring that knowledge in as well. So I will begin reading to you this week's World Affairs Truth Report number 10. Welcome, beautiful souls, to this week's World Affairs Truth Report. Now, why should you even believe what we write here? How can you believe it's possible to communicate with you in this way? And we say that it is something that so many can do, yet the mind plays tricks, making you think that it is most unnatural for you. Yet it isn't. It is a very natural state for a sovereign being. And there are many, many different ways to communicate with your guidance team, your spirit guides, and your soul self. We wish to take a moment to assist you in finding the way that is most natural for you. It starts with an inner knowing that there is help within you, that you are connected to something bigger than you, that the world wants you to think that you can live in a different way that's far more beneficial for you than the way that's currently being offered to you. It's why the ones who have had near-death experiences are so sure, so self-assured in their belief. For they have experienced firsthand and have often been asked to return to tell others of what they have seen and experienced. For it is really only through first-hand experience that you believe. Yet for some, you just know truth when it is told to you, just like you know falsity when it is put in front of you too. You just know. And that is the gift that you have at the heart of you. And perhaps just by us saying this to you in this moment, it is helping to activate this more strongly in you. Your inner knowing, your sovereignty to think and feel outside the box, if you like. Great creations will come through you if you can take the challenge of continuing on your path of shifting from awakening and into enlightenment. Yet we say again, it isn't for the faint-hearted. It is for the strong-hearted who are determined not to let the law of their ego mind keep them stuck in us and them. It's a hard step to transition, yet true freedom awaits you on the other side. What we talk of is surrender, which, whilst it can sound wishy-washy, has immense strength and power in its true understanding and embodiment. For whilst enlightenment has been made to sound so complex, it really is quite simple when understood in terms of the power of surrender and how it can help you. Help you in becoming the powerful, sovereign being you were supposed to be. The being you in all your fullness, full of your soul self, where the mind has stepped aside and is there to serve rather than hinder you. If you could let yourself concentrate on the concept of surrender for a moment, not with your mind, but with your heart. Take a moment to tune into your heart, to feel into that part of you and listen through your heart, through your inner knowing. There is a superpower available to you, and that superpower is surrender. Surrender is where your true power lies and where your true soul gifts are activated. Surrender in service, surrender in your internal world, surrender in the outcomes of what you are being guided to do. The letting go of the way you have been in the world and the opening to life becoming so much richer for you. If you wanted to, how would you start on the path of surrender? You would set your intention to. Then you would start to find synchronicities coming your way, perhaps through books, through guidance, to help your mind come to. For at first, the mind has to try and understand what surrender is asking of you before it steps aside to let your soul self guide you. We suggest a short intention to help you from the Coming Times book. So I'm just going to, from the Coming Times book, I'm just going to read to you the intention. I'm going to read to you just a little excerpt from the intention, and then if you want to listen to the whole thing, it's about 4 minutes long. We'll attach it to the comments of this video, and then you can click on it and listen to it. So I've voiced it so you can actually listen to it. And in the book they suggest listening to it for at least 21 days. But then they also say let your intuition guide you on that. So I'll just read the start of it. So, surrender to your soul intention. Today I intend to surrender to the agenda of my soul. My soul knows exactly what is ahead for me today, and I surrender to what unfolds, fully accepting all that I will experience today. And also on the Coming Times website, thecomingtimes.org, there also you can get the transcript of the intention too. So yes. So that was the report finished. And my lovely partner, Ged, is going to come and join me. But first, I'm just going to close my eyes and just see whether there's any additional messages that want to come through me live now. We are the collective consciousness that we refer to as the Divine Council. We come as a collective embodiment of what you would understand as a higher frequency than the mind can comprehend. And to some, to many, this way of communicating with you is not something that can be understood at all. Yet to others, they feel our frequency. You feel the frequency we are emanating. And in this moment, it is a combination of a soft but strong energy. An energy that asks you to take quite seriously your sovereignty at the heart of you. The remembering that we keep repeating of the soul self that sits within you, waiting to express itself in whichever way is right for you. And that soul expression comes through in so many different ways. We give the example of the piano keyboard and we say each note has its own expression, yet when combined together is a seamless flow if played properly. And when learning, each tune is fine-tuned and understood for its expression, its unique sound, if you like. And the world is waiting for each soul self's self-expression. And when we say this, we're not necessarily saying that it is expected of every soul who comes into their fully awakened state to be expressing themselves openly on the world stage. That's not what we're pushing. What we're suggesting, what we're helping to unlock from within you is the unique you. And however that expression wishes to flourish from within you, it is that part of you that feels lit up. Now, you might be thinking this is all very well being asked of you at a time when there is so much uncertainty and you are being pushed and pulled, and some are feeling the scarcity and the fear of what is playing out on the world stage and possibly what is to come. And what we say to you is to remind you that this superpower at the heart of you is your ability to surrender to your soul self that is waiting for you within you. Yes, it sounds complex, yet if you can start with the intention, I wish I intend to surrender to my soul, that is a perfect starting point for you. And it's where we wish to leave you today. With love. Hello. Right, I am going to shuffle over and Ged is going to come and join me.
Thank you, Helen, and everyone that was coming through. I think two main themes for today, which they continued in the live channel at the end. One is channeling or some form of communication, and the other one is surrender as the access point to that, to whatever your gifts are. And they've unpacked that quite nicely in this. So I'll pick through it from my own perspective, offer what I can from how I see it and understand it. And again, I urge you to find your own way, take what works for you and throw out what doesn't. And again, that's also suggested numerous times in today's channeling. So they say, why should you even believe what we write here? How can you believe it's possible to communicate with you in this way? Well, just to sort of expand on that, I think if you're here, then you're curious. So if you're like me, you're open to all kinds of woo-woo, if you like. I've been loving woo-woo for quite some time. Some of it great and some of it not so great. And I'm working out myself what works for me and what doesn't. The difficulty is in the discernment, but it's practice. You just have to start honing in on how you feel when you hear something or read something or see something. It's not just what your mind says. That's generally wrong. Not always, but generally. But it's how you feel when you sense what's being told to you. And we're being invited to open up to a brand new way of communication. A bit like, I guess, a cosmic news feed. You know, the galactic teleprompter is coming through channelers like Helen and many others of them. And I find it fascinating. And when you do find teachers that you're comfortable with, the information, you know, is priceless. It's your way of healing and your way of evolution. That you can take control of it yourself, pick it up, put it down whenever you feel like, use it, work with it, and explore it yourself. Maybe explore your own channeling gifts. Because they suggest here that there's something that many can do, yet the mind plays tricks, making you think that it's most unnatural for you, yet it isn't. It is weird, you know. Let's face it. If you've looked at other channels, it's difficult sometimes to look at them, even if you accept what they say is truth, what's coming through them is truth, whether that's in written form or otherwise. I mean, Helen's story, you know, for those of you that you don't know, she was encouraged to journal, to write when she was going through a healing process herself, and that quickly turned into a channeling process where she was automatically writing. And I think that's one of, if you're interested in practicing this sort of thing, reach out to Helen. Maybe she can explain more how that works. But even just writing down your thoughts and feelings, there's channeling amongst it. If you write something down and then go back some days later or weeks later and read it, there'll be golden nuggets of information in there that you hadn't noticed when you first wrote it. I think one of the reasons, and this is just my own thinking, maybe I'm incorrect in this, but it felt when I was reading what Helen had written earlier today, that there was some of this was in response to World Affairs Truth Report 8 and 9, where Helen was live channeling, and there's been some responses to that in different ways, and our own responses as well. I mean, it's one thing absorbing the information coming through, once it's been channeled, maybe the day before or whatever, and you've got a chance to, absorb that information and do what you're with. But it's another thing to listen to someone channeling live. Like I say, it is weird, and I've been following channelers for about 18-20 years, and there are some very famous ones. I guess most people watching this or listening to this have followed some kind of channeler in some form. Cryon and Esther Hicks being probably the two of the most famous, but there are others like them, and they it's very clunky when you first start, because the person that's being gifted with channeling the information has to adjust to the energy feed that's coming through. And I'm fortunate enough to sit next to Helen sometimes when she does it, and she describes waves of energy moving through her body. So you imagine having to navigate that and deliver, the pockets, the tranches of information that are coming through. It's uncomfortable, and sometimes the voice changes, the appearance changes, the behaviour, the mannerisms. But over time, in my experience watching other people and also watching Helen, it smooths its way out. The channeler works out how to handle it. And so oftentimes another energy form comes through, and again they have to adjust to this as well. So it's unusual. But again, like I say, it's a cosmic news feed, and we're just being asked to understand things in a different way. Maybe when we're watching the BBC Cosmic News in years to come, they're all going to be, automatically channeling information that's coming through from some other time and space. That's a maybe, by the way. Word of warning as well. The Divine Council are encouraging us all to explore this, and I think that's a wonderful thing. They're encouraging us to explore our own relationship with channeled information. But it's becoming very popular in the sort of spiritual world on YouTube and other social media forums and whatnot. So there are more people getting involved in it, and with that comes, the risks of where's it coming from? Have these people actually done the work on themselves before they're channeling as well? So I encourage you to really choose wisely who and what feels good for you, and dismiss those that aren't. I mean, it should be quite clear, really. I guess one rule of thumb is, for me anyway, is if there's any fear in there, then that's not coming from the right place. That's coming from a place of distortion. There's words of warning sometimes, but they'll always come with, this is what you can do to get past this or get around it or overcome it. It won't leave you in a state of fear. If it does, for me, it's not coming from a good place, and that gets thrown away. The DC say it's a very natural state for us as a sovereign being, and there are many, many different ways to communicate with your guidance team, spirit guides, and your soul self. We all reach out to someone or something. Deceased relatives is one easy one. Oh, this is me. We all reach out to someone or something. Deceased relatives, we all have a sense that they're still around in some way, shape or form, certainly in the near months and years after their passing. We just have a sense that they're there, and you know, how are they communicating with us? Sometimes it's quite, you know, obvious, and sometimes it's more subtle. Start to develop a language, you know, ask for deceased relatives or guides or whatever you want to call them to find you a car parking space. You know, if they find you one day when it's really busy, and it's kind of amusing. If you ask again and you get another one, then that's interesting. If it's a third time or more, then there's something significant, and maybe you can expand that into other aspects of your life, whether that's work, relationships, other things in life. Create a dialogue, create a relationship, and know that it's true, and start to rely on it, because it requires your instruction, it requires your permission. You know, everyone's talking about manifestation these days, and it's frustrating for some, and some people, you know, it kind of runs quite smoothly. There's a lot of complications with manifestation, but I think, you know, I guess the collective doesn't believe it right now, but when the collective does believe it, when we all keep trying and keep working with it, then it will form part of our reality, because that's what we're choosing. Maybe at the moment we're not actually choosing it enough. There's the mind gets in the way to obstruct. So start small, you know, start near to you, start something that's believable and realistic. Oh yeah, the other thing I wrote there was, I love animal symbology. I mean, anytime I see an animal that comes in front of me in one shape or form, I'll look up its spiritual meaning. Indigenous people have always used animal totems, animal spiritual meaning, especially if you see something rare that's unusual. For me, that's definitely, it's showing up for you, and there's a reason for that. And so you're basically creating and developing a different language. You're enhancing yourself. You're widening your scope of communication, and then that will realize into your offering for yourself and for others. So the DC are referring to the fact that we need, you know, evidence. We need first-hand evidence, and that we need that over and over and over again. And I definitely include myself in that. I mean, I love evidence, and I go in with blind faith, but then I want to support it. And if I can't find it, then I'll back away. Or that you find your way. But they refer to, you know, near-death experiences. There's so many of them out there. They're available to find on the internet. Anita Morjani being the one that springs to mind, the most famous one, I think, and she wrote a book called Dying to Be Me. And I think these near-death experiences, some of them come back with fabulous information, which, you know, is both exciting and interesting. But I think the biggest thing is that they've come back, and that's to reassure us, to take away some fear, because the biggest fear of humanity is fear of dying, because we don't know what comes next. But these near-death experiences are all sharing the same story of what a beautiful experience. The temptation to stay where they are is significant, but they get offered an opportunity to come back here to share their story, and that is even more appealing because they're in service. They're in service to humanity, and their draw to help alleviate fear and to bring peace into our lives is stronger than what they've been offered, because they know that's there anyway. They can go there anytime they like. And it's a wonderful gift, a wonderful thing. It says, yet for some, you just know the truth when it's told to you, just like you know falsity when it's put in front of you. You just know. And that's the gift that you have at the heart of you. And perhaps just by us saying this to you in this moment, it is helping to activate more strongly in you your inner knowing, your sovereignty to think and feel outside the box, if you like. So we referred to this earlier. And it made me think that, if there are people out there channeling and it's not necessarily legitimate, maybe they're seeking something for themselves out of it. But they're here by design. So they're actually doing a service, because they're making it quite obvious, I think, in many ways, that it's not legitimate, and it's helping us to choose our sovereignty, not blindly accepting somebody and somebody's offering, really to hone in on it. So, we have to thank the fate channelers for their work, because that's what they've been selected, that's what they've chosen to come here to do, and doing their job well. It says, great creations will come through you if you can take the challenge of continuing on your path of shifting from awakening into enlightenment. Yet we say again, it isn't for the faint-hearted, it's for the strong-hearted who are determined not to let the lure of their ego mind keep them stuck in us and them. It's a hard step to transpire, yet true freedom awaits you on the other side. So we're being offered here the bait of becoming a great creator if we remain on our spiritual path. So when ego mind, peer pressure, and they come knocking on the door, we've got to find the courage and strength to stay in your path. There'll be lots and lots of obstructions and invitations and reasons why you shouldn't do it. And you've got this far, so why turn back now? I mean, most people watching this, I imagine, especially those, they've been on the spirit path for a while, they've come out of their dark nights of the soul, and why on earth would you stop that now after you've got over the worst of it? And what's ahead of us, is it's not even started yet. So stay in your lane, keep doing what you're doing, exploring your gifts, your your reasons for being here. Keep asking why you're here. Keep asking to remember who you are. Be curious. So they say what we talk about is surrender. So that was the second major part of this for me, which whilst it can be while it can sound wishy-washy, has an immense strength and power in its true understanding and embodiment. There are multiple reasons for surrender. The obvious one is surrendering in a war situation, but it's surrendering to any situation where it's not, you can't take it any further, where you have to submit to whatever's in front of you. But I think the DC are referring to the spiritual sense, and it's surrendering to the soul self and the desire of the soul, and that can be very, very challenging in a lot of instances, especially if it's bringing about relationship change or job change or even a lifestyle change. I've not eaten bread for a week, and that's very challenging for me.
Very, very.
Whether I continue with that, I'm not sure, but the lure of sourdough bread is very strong. Yeah, so it's surrender. It can sound like, a diminishing word, if you like. It doesn't sound expansive, but it's going in to find the expansiveness rather than outside, and surrender into the path that's being unfolded of you. And when you're on when you're on riding a wave, I suppose, and opportunities come your way, don't block them out straight away. Sit with them, feel, and try and see what's on the other side of them. Go on a journey in your own, musings, and see if you take this pathway, where would it lead to? What possibilities would it lead to? And then feel into that outcome. And also do the opposite if you don't take that decision. And if one of them feels tight, restricted, or even uncomfortable, maybe that's not the right decision for you. But if it feels exciting, nervous excitement is okay. Some people confuse it with anxiety. Maybe it is, but there's some power in that. And learn to communicate with yourself in order to come to the right choices and decisions. So the DC go on to say, whilst enlightenment has been made to sound complex, it really is quite simple when understood in the terms of the power of surrender and how it can help you. I think, and in this case, the enlightenment means to allow light to open the doors for you. It's following the light path, following the lightest way. To be informed by light, to be led by light, for light to make things easier, to be more illuminated. Everything feels light about it, and for me that's what enlightenment is, and it comes in varying degrees. And so follow your light, get to know it, ask more of it, ask it to guide you in every way, and ask to be led by it. And they say to help you in the becoming the powerful sovereign being that you are supposed to be, the being you in all your fullness, full of the soul self, where the mind has stepped aside and is there to serve rather than to hinder you. This is an ongoing theme, I think, has been present in every single one of the messages so far, is the ability to dictate the mind, I suppose, to overcome the mind, to challenge the mind, rather than the mind dictating proceedings, as it has done up until now for all of humanity. It is regime change, and not in the way that some people want it. It's in the way that we want it, our sovereign selves, your soul being the supreme leader, and being led in ways that are supportive of community, have community values that support the human race, support it in its expansion, love and support each other, help the planet, support the planet. And your mind doesn't understand this, and so we have to re-educate it, we have to teach it. We have visionary abilities within us. We can see what's ahead if we choose to. We can certainly feel into it and desire it, and then the mind will follow. It wants to be told, and it needs to be reintroduced to the soul and the intelligence and the wisdom of the soul, and it will settle down. It will stop, annoying you as it is doing at the moment. If you could let yourself concentrate on the concept of surrender for a moment, not with your mind, but with your heart. Take a moment to tune into your heart, to feel into that part of you, and listen through your heart, through your inner knowing. If you're honest, I think, or we do trust our hearts. I mean, we're often putting our hand there, we're resting there, we talk about it all the time in various different forms. We don't really understand the depth of it, certainly in its spiritual, etheric form. But it's the place to go to, and the difficulty is being able to stay there and listen, and being prepared, to wait for answers. They for some people, with channeling, we're talking about channeling here today. It doesn't take Helen long to get into a state where she's open and clear and available for information to come through. But for most of us, me included, we have to try a bit harder. And sometimes the responses are subtle. In fact, most of the time. And that will come through in other ways. And that's why, to be observant, to be vigilant, and to consider oddities like animal totems and things like that. Start to introduce, new ways. I mean, this is a random thought that came in, but I'll bring it in anyway. That I was in Iceland a few years ago, and someone told us when we were out there that there was a road being built in some part of the island, and there was a point where, some ways into the development of this road, all the workers started to become ill, and sometimes seriously, and then there was a serious injury. And there was a meeting at government level between the road builders and people that talk to elves. And this is, it's all on record, you can find this out for yourself. It's a thing in Iceland. And apparently the road where they were intending to go at this particular point was invading a sacred space that the elves said was non-negotiable, and that they would continue to cause trouble unless they moved it. So the road was, diverted around this sacred space, and on they went. So they have an acceptance that there are etheric beings closely related to the earth, that take care of the earth, that are very present and aware and in their life in some forms. And they're not the only culture in the world that says this. You talk to an indigenous person from South America, and they have more of a relationship with the other world than they do with this world. So it's not a new thing, and it's just a bit weird, like I say. But we'll get used to it. So if anyone's met any fairies or any other beings, I'd be really interested to know. It says there is a superpower available to you, and that superpower is surrender. Surrender is where your true power lies and where your true soul gifts are activated. Surrender in service, surrender in your internal world, surrender in the outcomes of what you are being guided to do. The letting go of the way you've been in the world and the opening to life of becoming so much richer for you. So we're being asked to consider a new dimension. People often talk about moving from 3D to 5D. It literally is that, and I think the more we're going to understand more and more about what that means as the weeks, months and years go by. And a new dimension means there's something or some things coming in that we haven't been in this reality, that we're unaware of, and channeling is one of them. Communication, telepathy is another. There's going to be a whole host of other things, and it's exciting. Explore it, be curious again, like I say, and the more and more we are open to exploring these things, and they become real for some people, and more people, and eventually it reaches tipping point, and then they become part of our reality. That's how it works. So if you wanted to, how would you start on the path of surrender? You would set your intention to, then you would start to find synchronicities coming your way, perhaps books, guidance, etc., to help your mind come to. For at first the mind has to try and understand what surrender is asking of you, before it steps aside to let your soul guide you. we will ask that a short intention to help you from the Coming Times book is added to this. So, Helen read an excerpt from the Coming Times book. It's an affirmation that a lot of people use who've read the book. We often get comments from it. And, if you do it for 21 days, you're not just affirming to surrender to the soul. You're validating the fact that you have a soul. The biology of the body changes. I think it's 28 days, so maybe try it for 28. But certainly repetition as it helps the body to understand it, changes the cellular structure and the DNA. And just the act of honouring and accepting that you have a soul energy at your source, it is a great step forward. And and have no expectation of anything other than becoming familiar with your soul, and be vigilant about how that responds to you and starts to communicate with you. It's very simple in terms of stepping into it. It's a complex, it's a complex theme to just blindly accept, and so make it simple for yourself. So if you want to, repeat the affirmations every day and see where it takes you. And then if you enjoy them and you start to notice something, then maybe choose some other ones. There's lots of them in the book, which you can find on Amazon. Do you have anything to add to that?
Probably only that I started using it quite a long time ago, and I honestly did notice a shift inside me. I definitely did. So yeah, it's continuing on from what you were saying. It's what's the word? It's like we're self-strengthening. We're saying, I am aware that there is another part of me, and we're asking that part of us. Because it's all about, the end of the day, we can read as many books, we can hear like hundreds of people telling us the same thing, but unless we bring our attention and almost our command and our self-belief into it, it's not going to happen. We're not actually going to feel it.
Yeah, so you're convincing yourself.
Yeah, and then you start to actually feel it, right?
Well, maybe you can just briefly explain then, because that process worked with your automatic writing. In terms of not saying affirmations, but repeating or writing continuously, and then realizing that there was something else there. Is that how it worked?
Yeah, as in reading it back and then
realizing it was coming from somewhere else.
Yeah, absolutely.
And did that happen straight away?
It did, in the sense that I thought that it was my inner child, like angry little inner child trying to express itself, and then it became like this really wise, like when I read it back I was like, wow, that is really, really wise, like telling me how to heal myself. So I knew it was like, well, this is different. But people have told me exactly what you're saying, that where they keep doing it and keep doing it and keep doing it, and then put it down and come back to it like a couple of weeks later and think they've just written like nothing, and then it's like, wow, that is unbelievable. So it's coming through without us almost realising it, and then in retrospect we realise there it is.
Yeah, sometimes you've just got to stand back and leave things alone and then come back to them, because that sort of analogy, if you stood with your face right up to a Picasso, then you can only see the part that's in front of you, but if you stand back, then you'll see the whole picture. Not just limiting to Picasso, but all paintings. But sometimes you just got to leave it alone. Songwriters do it as well, and they walk away and then come back and realise the gifts in certain aspects of that creation, and then fill it out from there. So yeah, I encourage you all to just explore and play with it, have a bit of fun with it. Don't get upset with it if it's not, coming through straight away, but the more and more you reinforce it, then it will start to be a feature in your life. So thank you for listening into double digit number 10. And we look forward to seeing you at number 11. Ciao for now.
Bye.